have Kyle Gerber working with Dr. Randy Harris in the Department of English Language and Literature. Kyle's going to speak on figuring forgiveness, rhetorical patterns in Mennonite responses to tragedy. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Gerber, and it's a pleasure to share these 3 minutes with you. Kenneth Burke asks us, he says, what is involved when we say what people are doing and why they are doing it? My thesis applies this question to the topic of forgiveness, especially within a Mennonite context. And so I read stories of trauma in Mennonite communities and see how forgiveness comes out of these. What are the patterns that emerge? So I might ask, what is involved when Mennonites say what they are doing when they forgive and why they are doing it? Some of you may remember in 2006, a gunman walked into an Amish school in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, and took the lives of 5 young girls. As shocking as that was, equally shocking perhaps was the immediate offer of forgiveness that the Amish families extended to the Roberts family. And news media broadcast this all around the world, and the big question was, how could they issue forgiveness so immediately? Right? What are the factors at play? So some people say, well, perhaps it's a strict adherence to religious order, or perhaps it's these cultural practices that are historically located. My thesis says that we can read it that way, but we can also say there are rhetorical practices embedded deep within their culture that informs their psyche. And so I look at it through 3 different frames, and you can see them there on the screen in terms of Mennonite studies, classical rhetoric, and cognitive science. The image that you see there is Dirk Willems, a 16th century Anabaptist martyr, reaching down into the ice to pull out his pursuer, who then arrested him and burned him at the stake as a heretic. This guy is an iconic Mennonite folk hero, and this picture is in The Martyr's Mirror, which is a book that is considered by Mennonite scholars second only in importance to the Bible in Amish and Mennonite homes. So you have that. Then I bring classical rhetoric to the table and say, well, how do rhetorical figures factor into this? And so you can see in the Lord's Prayer there, we have instances of epistrophe, which is repeated words at the line endings or clause endings, and anaphora, repeated words at the beginning of lines or clauses. Okay? When we take cognitive science now, and rhetoricians like to think we're scientists, but we're not really. We just like to borrow cognitive science. We say, how do those parallel structures actually impact the way our brains function and think? So they don't actually just perform rhetorically, but they embed themselves deep within our psyche. And my question in my research is, what happens when an entire community like the Amish prays prayers like that every day? What happens when those rhetorical figures become deeply embedded in your psyche? And what might happen to us if we were to engage in similar linguistic practices? What are the possibilities for forgiveness within our own communities? Thank you.